There is a stack of shipping pallets leaning against my smokehouse right now, 41 of them. I did not pay 1 dime for a single one. The feed store in town was glad to be rid of them. And the manager at the hardware store practically loaded them into my truck himself. By the end of this fall, that stack is going to be a small cabin out past my garden, tight enough to hold its heat through an Oklahoma ice storm, and the whole thing will cost me less than most folks' electric bill for 1 month. Now, a pallet is a modern thing, but the way I am going to stack them, join them, and seal them is not. My people were building warm, dry shelter in these hills long before anybody in this country milled a 2x4. And stay with me to the end, because there is one thing the old builders did to their walls that no modern builder ever does with a pallet. It is the whole reason the old winter houses stayed warm at 10 degrees with nothing but a small fire, and it will not cost you $1 single. I am Wes Kingfisher. I am 64 years old. I am of Cherokee heritage, and I was raised by my grandmother Ada in the hills of eastern Oklahoma on the same few acres where I live today. She taught me the plants and the kitchen. My grandfather and my uncles taught me the woods and the building. 40 years on the powwow trail taught me the rest. The old ones never wrote this down, so listen close. Now let me tell you what put that stack in my yard. Last spring, a fella down the road from me asked a contractor for a price on a plain 12 by 16 bunk cabin for his grandsons. The number came back at $28,000. $28,000 for 4 walls and a roof. He about sat down in his driveway. And the kit sheds at the big box store are not much kinder. $5,000 or $6,000 for pine walls, 1 thin sheet thick, walls that sweat in the summer and pour heat out all winter. Here's what the old ones would say about all of it. You do not buy shelter, you gather it. For 10,000 years, my people built warm, dry houses out of exactly what the land was giving away that season. Saplings, river cane, bark, clay, grass. The land looks different now, but it is still giving. Behind every feed store, hardware store, and warehouse in this country sit stacks of hardwood pallets, oak and maple mostly, kiln dried, built to carry a ton apiece, and nearly all of them are headed for the burn pile. That is free milled hardwood, better wood than half the studs at the lumber yard waiting on anybody who asks. The material changed. The way underneath it has not changed at all. And keep one eye on that gap between the 2 faces of a pallet as we go, because that gap is where the whole secret lives, and I promise I will get you there. Now, everything I'm teaching you today comes out of a book I put together called The Native American Way, 101 remedies, skills, and recipes that kept my people alive for 10,000 years. My grandmother Ada and the elders I sat with across Indian country handed me this knowledge around 1,000 fires, and none of them ever wrote it down. So I did. The backyard plants, the old ones used and exactly how they used them, the teas and salves from Ada's kitchen, the wild foods and when to gather them, food preservation the old way, the fire and shelter and water skills, and the recipes that fed the people through every winter. All of it written out plain, step by step. Right now it is $17, marked down from $47. That is less than 2 of these pallets would cost you brand new for knowledge that took 10,000 years of testing. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, back to that stack of pallets and the ground you are going to set them on. Step 1 is choosing your ground. And the old builders were choosier about this than about anything else. My people set their winter houses on the south shoulder of a rise. Never in the bottom, never on the very top. Here's the why underneath that. Cold air is heavy, and at night it slides downhill like water and pools in the low ground. So a cabin in a hollow sits in a cold pond till noon. The top of a hill catches every wind of the winter, but the south shoulder catches the low winter sun all day long and lets the north wind pass overhead. So walk your land on a cold morning and feel where the chill sits. Look for ground that sheds water away on every side. Look for a stand of trees or a rise to the north of your spot, because that is your windbreak, and a good windbreak is worth more than an extra wall. Face your door east or south, toward the morning sun, and away from the weather. My grandmother's people were reading ground this way for 10,000 years before anybody sold a building permit. Take a whole afternoon and choose right, because a cabin on the wrong ground is firewood in 5 years, and a cabin on the right ground outlives the man who built it. Step 2 is gathering your pallets, and I need you to slow down here and look close, because not every pallet is safe to live inside. Tip the pallet on its side and find the stamp burned into the wood. You're looking for the letters HT. HT stands for heat treated, which means the wood was dried in a kiln with nothing but heat, and it is clean and safe. If that stamp says MB instead, set it down and walk away. MB means methyl bromide, a pesticide gas, and you do not build your walls with it, and you never ever burn a scrap of it. That is MB. Leave it where it sits. A pallet with no stamp at all is a stranger, and you do not know where it has been. So pass on that one too. Skip the painted ones as well, the blue and the red, because those belong to leasing companies anyway. What you want is plain, stamped HT hardwood. And the good news is that most American pallets are exactly that. The standard size is 48 inches by 40 inches, and matching sizes will save you a mountain of fitting later, 48 by 40. For a cabin around 8 feet by 12, gather about 40 of them. Ask at feed stores, hardware stores, and small warehouses, and most of them will thank you for the hauling. Step 3, get your wood up off the dirt, because the old ones never let a house timber touch the ground. Wood against soil wicks water like a lamp wick, and wet wood rots and calls the termites to supper. So we give the cabin stone feet. Set 6 flat stones or 6 solid concrete blocks in 2 rows on tamped gravel, and get them level with one another about 4 feet apart. 6 stones level. Lay 3 strong beams across them running the long way of the cabin. Doubled pallet stringers will do the job, or landscape timbers if you have them. On top of those beams, screw down a deck of pallets, and now you have a floor riding high above the ground with dry air moving underneath it. Our people out on the plains raise their food caches up on platforms for the same reason, and it is the same reason 100 years of Oklahoma barns still stand on fieldstones. Dry wood lasts, wet wood leaves. Step 4, the walls. And this part goes faster than you would believe. Stand your pallets upright around the edge of that floor, one at a time. Screw each one down through its bottom stringer into the floor with 3-inch deck screws. Screw each one to its neighbor at the top, the middle, and the bottom. At every corner, lap them, so the end pallet of one wall overlaps the face of the next wall. The same way the old log builders locked their corners in these hills, because a lapped corner braces itself. When all the walls stand, run one long board flat along the top of each wall and screw it down into every single pallet. That board ties the whole wall into one piece, and the old builders would have called that plain common sense. Now, 2 things about the shape, and both come straight out of the winter house. Keep the building small, because every square foot of floor is a square foot your fire has to warm. And make the door low and narrow, because heat lives up high in a room. And a tall, wide door pours your warm air out every time it swings. My people built the ASI, the winter house, small and low on purpose, and folks slept warm inside it through ice storms with one small fire. Small is not poor. Small is smart. And while you're standing at that wall, look at it. See the gap between the inside boards and the outside boards? Hold that thought, because that gap is the whole reason this cabin will hold heat. and we are almost there. Step 5, the roof. My grandmother had a saying about that. A house needs a good hat, because you can patch a wall in July, but a bad roof ruins everything underneath it. Frame a simple gable or single slope shed roof out of more pallet stringers and make it steep, at least 4 inches of rise for every foot of run, so rain and sleet run off instead of sitting. 4 inches per foot, no less. Let the roof hang out past the walls a good 2 feet on every side, because that wide brim throws the rainwater away from your walls, and dry walls are the whole game. If you can spare about $20, roll tar paper across the framing first, then shingle it the old way. Pry the flat slats off your leftover pallets and nail them on in rows, starting at the bottom edge of the roof, each row overlapping the row below it by half. That is exactly how my people layered bark shingles on their houses in these hills. The water steps down from slat to slat, like a man walking downstairs, and it never finds a way in. It is slow work, and it is pleasant work. And the first time you stand under that roof in a hard rain, bone dry, you will understand something about the old ones that no book can hand you. And now the walls again, and the promise I made you at the very start. Here is what every modern builder does with a pallet wall. He stands it up, he admires the rustic look of it, and he leaves that 4-inch cavity between the inner boards and the outer boards empty. That empty gap is exactly why most pallet cabins are freezing. Air inside a hollow wall does not sit still. The air against your warm inside boards heats up and rises. Up at the top it rolls over, touches the cold outside boards, gives up its heat, sinks down, and comes back around for more. It is a slow, silent wheel turning inside your wall all night long. And every turn of that wheel carries your fire's heat out into the dark. Now here's the one thing the old builders did that no modern builder does. They never left a wall cavity empty. Not once in 10,000 years. The winter house walls were packed with dried grass, with moss, with leaves, with clay, packed tight. Because still air is one of the finest insulators on this earth, but only when it cannot move. Packing the wall adds no warmth of its own. It stops the wheel. So, before your roof boards go on, stuff every pallet cavity full. Dry oak leaves work. Straw works better. And the best way is the oldest way. Dip loose straw in a thin clay slurry about the thickness of buttermilk and pack it into the cavities tamped down tight with a stick. It dries into a stiff, quiet blanket inside every wall, and that coat of clay makes the straw slow to catch fire too. Then mix clay, sand, and chopped straw, and daub every outside seam by hand. Do all of that, and a wood stove the size of a milk crate will run you out of that cabin in your shirt sleeves in January. 10,000 years of testing. That's the guarantee on this one. And that wall trick is the kind of thing my grandmother's people handed down for free. Around a fire, one voice to the next. And it has its own page in the book. There are 101 of them in the Native American way. The remedies, the wild foods, the survival skills, and the kitchen, written out plain, step by step, so they do not die with me. $17, marked down from $47. That is less than a box of deck screws, and it will outlast every tool in your shed. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So that is the whole method. Free-stamped hardwood, high dry ground stone feet, small walls, a wide hat, and not one empty gap anywhere. Tell me in the comments where your people are from, and if there's native blood in your family line like there is in so many American families, I'd be honored to hear the story. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you the waterproof glue our people up in the North Woods, cooked from pine sap over a low fire, strong enough to seal a canoe seam, made from 2 things you can gather in a single afternoon. Wado, my friends. That means thank you. Walk easy, and I'll see you down the trail.